Hello guys, welcome back. My name is Nathan, and today we are going to be discussing 10 different NHL players who are proving everyone wrong so far this season. Now, we've seen a bunch of players this year that have been pretty disappointing, but on the other side of things, we've seen a lot of players rise past expectations and prove almost everybody wrong so far. So, who are the players right now that are rising past their expectations, and which players are proving almost everyone wrong so far in 2021? Watch till the end for all the rankings on all the inspirational stories, and hit that subscribe button if you're new. 70% of the people that are watching these videos are not subscribed, so every bit helps. And right now, on the road to 31K. Now, before I get into the first player that we need to talk about here today, I do want to say that obviously for some of these players that proving everybody wrong is a bit of an over-exaggeration, but for a lot of these players, they had almost zero expectations and have risen to the occasion, or they've been called washed, or called a bust, or called out of the league, not even NHL players, but have been established guys this season and have played their best seasons of their careers. So, a good example of this, I would say, comes in at the #1 player we need to talk about. And the first player to mention in today's video, we're going to go now to the Montreal Canadiens and Jonathan Drouin. Now, I have been the biggest Drouin hater, I think, over these past few seasons, and it was mostly because I wasn't really a big fan of the Sergachev trade, and he came to Montreal, and I had expectations for it, but he just, in terms of overall play and play driving and consistency, there was just a lack of that there consistently. And until last year, you really didn't see any signs of that. I thought he was good in the playoff bubble, but I wasn't really too sure if that was going to transition or if we were going to see Drouin finally turn a page and get productive. But so far this season has been amazing, and I'm definitely eating crow on that. In 10 games played, has 1 goal, 8 assists for 9 points, and has been awesome on that first line with Nick Suzuki and Josh Anderson, and has been pretty consistent as well. Pretty much everything that I had against him, the 200-foot game, the consistency, the play driving, has been better this year in a lot of different ways, and I'm really happy for Jonathan Drouin. I mean, he's been through so much, he's been through all the expectations and all the hype for so many years now, and it seems like he's finally putting it all together and becoming the good NHL player that he always had the potential to be. And yes, for sure, I'll definitely eat as much crow as humanly possible because the guy has been terrific, and I'm very happy to see that be the case. We're now going to go on to #2, though, and the second player proving so many people wrong this year. We're now going to go to the New Jersey Devils and first overall pick, Jack Hughes. Now, I'll be the first to say the rookie season was not great, but for me personally, I saw so many people out there, whether it was on a sarcastic side of things, or actually saying we're saying he was a bust, or that he wasn't going to be too much in the NHL, and that this was the start of something cataclysmic, when it really wasn't going to be the case. I didn't expect Jack Hughes to be great in his rookie season. He wasn't built to be great in his rookie season. He was built to be great 5 years ahead of time, 10 years ahead of time, 15 years ahead of time, and be one of the better, great NHL players. And with Jack Hughes so far this year, that has been the case. In 9 games played, 3 goals, 5 assists for 8 points, and has been one of the most consistent Devils forwards just in general, and one of the more dominant ones, I would say, too. Had a great start, has kind of cooled off a little bit, but still has been awesome for New Jersey. And with Jack Hughes, it's not really too surprising. He built up a bunch of muscle, a bunch of strength, and it has just looked better this year in general, so it's not surprising the points are finally going his way. But Jack Hughes always had the talent to be a magical, amazing NHL player, and it seems like he is turning that page, getting to the NHL and being an established guy, and also being as good as he has been. If he hasn't been as good as he has been, New Jersey definitely does not have a winning record right now, and their season looks a lot more bleak. Jack Hughes has been terrific and has been a huge part of New Jersey's franchise. We're now going to go on to the third player that has been proving a bunch of people wrong, though, and we're going to go to another New Jersey Devils forward in Miles Wood. And this is a situation where I, as well, have to eat some crow, because Miles Wood, I wasn't really the biggest fan of since the playoff year back in 2018, I believe, for New Jersey, and I just didn't really see too much from him long-term in New Jersey. But this year, he has been strangely awesome. In 9 games played, has gotten 5 goals, 3 assists for 8 points, and has been super solid overall. He's been very opportunistic, but he's also been a lot better of a play driver, a lot better of an overall player, and is looking like a pretty decent NHL player, which compared to what he was just these last couple of years, where he was a bad depth player on the New Jersey Devils, it's a major improvement, and so far he's proving himself as a major part of that New Jersey team as well. Now, we're going to move on to a player here who has been just just awesome so far this season and has been an almost MVP for his team after having a pretty down year last year and so many people saying that he was done being an elite player and he would never get back to that level. Personally, I thought he was going to have a rebound season, and so far that's been the case from the Calgary Flames' big-time winger in Johnny Gaudreau. In 9 games played, Gaudreau right now is sitting at 6 goals, 5 assists for 11 points, got that amazing shootout winner, and has been such a key part of that Calgary Flames team. And now, again, I'll be the first to say that last year was a down year. He was not great, but in the 3 or so seasons before that, he established himself as one of the best, most consistent offensive wingers in the entire National Hockey League. And I thought he had real potential to have a rebound season, go underrated, and once again, be one of the better scorers in the NHL, and so far, that has been the case. Now, he hasn't been the league leader or anything, but he's been pretty stupendous considering how Calgary has started. He's been great offensively, and there was a lot of people saying that he was going to be off of that radar for a long time after last year, and so far, getting back to that elite level is not really too surprising for me. We're now going to go on to our first defenseman, though, on this list, a guy that has been on his franchise and has kind of been the anchor on defense, whether he wanted it or not, and his play kind of suffered because of it, but he is having a really solid and underrated start of the season that's not really getting too much attention in my opinion, that being Finnish D-man from the Buffalo Sabres, Rasmus Ristolainen. Now, Ristolainen, I think, has been very, very solid this year. In 10 games played, has gotten 2 goals, 4 assists for 6 points, but personally, I wouldn't really look at the points too much because he's been pretty great just all around. He has like a 57% expected goals for percentage, been pretty fantastic, and on defense, eye test wise, has been so much better and so much more consistent as well than prior years, which is huge for the Buffalo Sabres. With Ristolainen, he was obviously a top talent back when he was drafted. He had potential to be a very solid defenseman, but Buffalo really ran him into the ground. He played in year 1. He played like the most minutes over these last 5 years of any Buffalo Sabres defenseman by far. He has had so much time, so much heavy lifting put on his shoulders that it took him a while to finally get to this level. But I'm hoping this is not a fluke. I'm really hoping he's able to continue that throughout the rest of this season because this is a guy that has been such a major part of the Sabres team for such a long time and has never really gone to a level where he can truly be comfortable and truly play to the level he deserved to be with his minutes. And so far, he is finally getting to that level and finally establishing himself as a solid NHL defenseman. It's about time, and I'm really happy for him as well. Now we're going to go on to number 6, though, and from my Dallas Stars, a player that, after the regular season last year, so many people were saying that the offense was gone from him and that we were going to see him decline a bunch and age a bunch, and with the playoffs and so far this regular season, that has just not been the case. Going to my man, Joe Pavelski. Joe Pavelski started off hot. He continues to be hot. In 7 games played, has 7 goals, 7 assists for 14 points, is a 2-point per game. And yet it seems like nobody's talking about him in terms of the hot starts in the NHL this year. He has been awesome. Obviously, the power plays have helped, and he's gotten so many power play points, but on even strength as well, he's been very consistent, very good in play driving, and has been one of the best, I mean, the best offensive player for the Dallas Stars. Not just in points, but in pretty much everything. He has been really solid with the losses of guys like Tyler Seguin, and with the little bit of losses of Jamie Benn. He's just been so consistently good, and such a big part of this Dallas Stars team, which with how good he was in the playoffs last year isn't the most surprising thing, but the guy is like 36 years old and continues to do this stuff. Captain America is an absolute legend. Now, if you excuse me, we're going to move on to another player that offensively has been doubted a lot, but so far this year has really shown his skills. We're going to go into the Minnesota Wild and number 1 center, or at least it should be the case, number 1 center in Joel Erikson. Now, I've talked about him a couple of times on this channel so far this season, but he has been lights out so far for the Minnesota Wild. Personally, Erikson was a guy that I always loved the defensive side of things for him, but I never really saw the offense really getting to a level where he would be a number 1 center. But so far for Minnesota, he has been easily the best center all around and has been one of their best players just in general. In 11 games played, has 5 goals, 4 assists for 9 points. And when I've watched a few Minnesota Wild games this year, of course, with guys like Kirill Kaprizov, must-watch television, especially on the power play. But Joel Erikson has been super consistent, super good, super mature, and also is not like the #1 guy time on ice on that team. He still is kind of leveraged a little bit, but still has been fantastic. I think he absolutely should be put with Kirill Kaprizov long term. That duo will be absolutely electric, and so far Erikson has been really just good in all departments, which for the Minnesota Wild, especially with their center situation, is badly needed. We're now going to go on to number 8, though, and another forward that's, compared to what he was like last year, it's night and day how good he's been, that being Nick Richie of the Boston Bruins. Now, Nick Richie is a guy that's been through some adversity these past couple of seasons, was traded by the Anaheim Ducks midway through last year, was put on the Boston Bruins, and I thought it was going to be an absolutely perfect fit with his more rugged, energizing game, especially in the depth role for the Boston Bruins. I thought it was going to be great for that team, and it was going to be great off the bat, but it could have not been farther from the truth. Last year, he was just so bad in terms of patience and penalties taking all the time, and offensive game that was pretty much non-existent compared to what he had years before. But this year, that's changed a bunch. His patience has been so much better, his maturity level has been so much better, and his overall game has just been so much more clean and efficient than it was last season. This is a guy that was a first-round pick, had a couple of solid seasons with Anaheim, but never really was able to get to a great, consistent level. And of course, with the Boston Bruins last year, it was a pretty big disaster, to put it blatantly. But so far, he's finally fitting to the Boston Bruins like I thought he should have on day one. I mean, it's a little bit late right now, but still, he turned the page, and this season has been great to start. Really hoping that continues, because I think for the Boston Bruins especially, they almost need him to for that depth. But I think for Nick Richie, he basically rejuvenated his career this season, which I think for him is so huge going into these contract years. Now going on to the final 2 players we need to talk about here today. 2 Finnish players left on this list, 2 Finnish GOATs that I don't really see getting too much attention right now, but absolutely deserve the attention at the moment. Now, you guys know I love my Finnish boys, but these 2 guys have been proving so many people wrong this year that it's super funny to see, but both of these guys have been fantastic for their teams. We're going to start out with the 9th player that is proving everybody wrong so far this year, going to the Edmonton Oilers in winger, yes, Jesse Puljujarvi. Jesse Puljujarvi has been one of my favorite personalities, one of my favorite players, just in general since he stepped into the league, or even before that in the World Juniors with Finland and his league of play as well. Just such a fun, charismatic person to be around on the ice. He's just such a great personality in general, and sadly it started off not that great with the Edmonton Oilers. Those first couple of years they rushed him to the NHL, didn't exactly work, and after a while he was sent to the Liga to just play in Finland, play in his home, and he did fantastic. After that, of course, signed with the Edmonton Oilers and has been great this year. In 12 games, got 2 goals, 2 assists for 4 points. Is one of the lesser players in terms of ice time as well this season, but I think has been making the most of it. Not even just in the points, but just in general. His blade driving is so much more improved than what we saw in years prior. He's so much more mature and such a better overall player as well. He really learned, I think, from going back to Finland, learning the basics again, and getting back to the NHL. But it was sad because for a while there, it seemed like for a lot of people, he was looked at as a bust and a guy that was never going to turn into a complete NHL player. But so far, it has been the case that he's finally doing that and has finally paid his dues and gone to the NHL and has been a fantastic player for Edmonton, and a guy that, especially forward-wise on the wings, they'll definitely depend upon these next few seasons. We're now going to go on to the last player we need to talk about here today, though, and a guy that's even more so than Puljujarvi, I think, is not getting enough attention for just how dominant he has been. That being Kevin Lankinen of the Chicago Blackhawks. Now, credit where it is due. I think Vidicek was solid in his rookie month, but I have no idea why the heck he won Rookie of the Month and not Kevin Lankinen, who has been so good for the Chicago Blackhawks. In 7 games, has a .935 save percentage, a 4.2 goals saved above expected right now, 3rd in the entire National Hockey League. And he has to work with the Chicago Blackhawks defense. That kind of defense, which yes has been better, I think, this year, but still is not that great, and he has been so good. He has a .935 save percentage right now, and has been so consistent as well. Now, for me, Lankinen, I've been on his train since 2019 with that World Championships, with that team with Finland that ended up winning gold that had no NHL players almost, and they were so good and so collected, and Kevin Lankinen was a huge part of that. And he is on the older side, I get that, but he has been such a key part the Chicago Blackhawks. He's one of the main reasons why they're still competitive right now and not in the dumpster of the standings, because all the rest of the goaltending for Chicago has not been great. But Kevin Lankinen has stepped up to the plate and has been fantastic, which is not surprising for me, but for a lot of people that were saying Chicago's goaltending was automatically going to be terrible, I always thought Kevin Lankinen had a chance to be solid, and so far, he's been pretty alright. But that'll be it for today, guys. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell if you enjoyed. And hit the notification bell, of course, for notifications and all the new videos. Make sure you comment down below what you agree and disagree with, and who do you think is the player that is proving everybody wrong the most so far this year. Let me know your thoughts, and make sure you share this video with your friends. Get the stories out there, and get the players that are dominating out there as well. And click on this card for all of my hockey rankings content right on one playlist. My name is Nathan. Thanks so much for joining me. Hopefully you're having a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next video or stream. Goodbye.